at Leeds Festival. It's looks like a beautiful day. Heard it rained yesterday here, so I'm very thankful that it's not so far. And yeah, it's a gorgeous day. Looking forward to a good show. We played Reading yesterday and had a great time. We were there pretty late. I think we left there at 4 a.m. Yeah, had a good show and good time. Watched Rage's set and a little bit of Queens of the Stone Age. Hung out with Tom. Played a lot of ping pong yesterday in the Rage camp. So that was very exciting. You know, we do tours so we could catch up on our ping pong. The music is just kind of like a side thing, you know. It's nice to see all your friends at the festivals and hang out and catch up. You know, we've been doing that since early June at some of the other European festivals, catching up with friends. And it's cool having a different lineup every day because of the festivals and being in a different country every day. It's very dynamic and interesting rather than having the same package tour playing in different places every day, which gets kind of, you know, groundhoggy. You get to see a lot of differences, you know, cultural differences from the food to the way things are set up, even if it's a festival environment, to production and the people working there and security and how everything is handled is an inherent characteristic of the people there, you know, and that's always interesting to see. And yeah, the language, and you know, we also get days off here and there, and we go into the city and explore a bit and enjoy that. So that's really cool. Over the summer in Europe, of course, it's beautiful. Well, I think we place way too much pressure on electing one person to one office, even if that is the office of president or commander-in-chief, whatever it's called. I think it's important for us to be organized in terms of activism. It's important for us to be knowledgeable in terms of media and everything happening in the world, so that we can force our elected leaders to make the correct decisions on our behalf for our desires, and not necessarily be representing multinationals or foreign governments or whoever that they tend to represent in cases of foreign policy. One of my things, I've got a website called electeddead.com.org, both, I think, and we have about 5 different points on there. The first one being we have to completely abolish the Electoral College. The Electoral College is an outdated, antiquated system of representational democracy that allows for these electors, whoever they are, to override the majority popular vote, which we've already seen in 2000. I mean, it worked against our democracy in the United States in the year 2000. It brought Bush to power, you know, and yet we haven't learned the lesson. No one talks about abolishing this thing. Instead, they talk about, how do we deal with this system? How many electors do we need? How many delegates do we need? Fuck that, you know. We need to get rid of this system of that's antiquated and that's elitist from day one, you know. The electoral system was set up because earlier on within our democracy in the US, the founding fathers had very little trust for the laborers and indentured servants and all of the people coming to the shores of America that weren't landowners. And obviously we had slaves, women couldn't vote at the time. So it was a whole different world that we lived in. And these electors were there to make sure that the popular vote doesn't go way too far. And if we still can't trust our own people to make that decision, then we shouldn't be calling ourselves a democracy. We should get rid of the Electoral College altogether. Majority popular vote, we already have all of the levers for it. It's what we do. You know, we take the popular vote. We just shouldn't be using the electoral to confirm it. I think we need someone a little more to the left, you know, someone to actually deal with things in a realistic way and say that, okay, we've gone too far. We're in 2 wars that are not going to end. If we continue with this path. It's an ignorant path of foreign policy, a completely destabilizing factor in world politics, creating more terrorism, creating more negative attitudes, not just toward the US, but toward the whole West. And it's time to change that. It's time to change it. Also, the domestic policy that we've institutionalized and trying to basically sell everything off, you know. Privatization is not necessarily the best thing for media. Complete privatization is not the very best thing for everything. Look at the BBC versus American news. American news is so filtered and so, you know, there's the truth, you have to dig on the internet to find it. Whereas with something like the BBC, that's obviously part of the government, it's one of the most quality news services in the world. That's a great example of how not necessarily privatizing your whole media is the best answer. I mean, not just that, but in terms of domestic, we've got a lot of problems in the U.S. You know, we've got millions of people without health care. We've got a number of homeless people. Our infrastructure, our bridges. I mean, there's all these billions and trillions we're spending on a war, and yet we're not taking care of our people to the extent that we could, or at least should, minimum standard. And that's unacceptable for me, not just as an American, but as a human on the fucking planet.